So we have here now the last panel of the day. And what we are trying to do is maybe bring together the very insightful and fruitful conversations that we have today. So the objective of this session is for all of us to take the work that we have done and look ahead at COP29, which is literally tomorrow, and then, of course, look further afield to COP30. So to do that, as you see here, I have a fabulous a group of experts that are going to talk about what is happening in very different parts of the world, and also from the nuclear industry, from the finance industry, and also from the end energy users. So I think that we are going to have very diverse ideas here. So one thing that I want to give you an idea of what's happening immediately. So in no time, literally in a month or so, we are going to go to Baku in Azerbaijan for COP29. And for those of you that are not super familiar with COP, this is a COP where the focus is going to be finance. So obviously it is very important that we achieve today this very momentous occasion where we actually had these 14 global banks and financial institutions pledging to support triple nuclear industry by 2050. So this is great. We are going to bring this to Baku, and we are going to build on to that. So many things that will happen there. So there will be a lot of work in enhancing the transparency of climate finance, making sure that developing countries have enough finance to move forward the climate transition. And last but certainly not least, we will put in place the framework for carbon markets. So very interesting things at COP28. But then let me just give you an advance for COP30, which is just as important. So COP30 will be next year, 2025. In Brazil, it's still not 100% certain where in Brazil it will be. And there is many reasons why COP30 is important, but one of them is the fact that we will have a global stock take again. So what does that mean? That means that for the second time, since the Paris Agreement was signed in 2015, countries in the world are going to take stock of where we actually are to actually fulfill our pledges to meet net zero, where we are as far as achieving what we've promised that we will achieve with our national determined contributions. And you will see that many countries are going to reassess what those contributions are, and I am going to guess that many countries are going to include nuclear energy much more prominently in these long-term plans. So I think that COP30 is an important COP for the world, of course, but also for nuclear. So let's discuss a little bit what's happening today and what needs to happen moving forward. And I was thinking that I'm going to start by starting from the beginning. I think that Tim Gitzel actually mentioned this, so I will start with you, Dastan. So the beginning of nuclear is the fuel. And as we move forward to tripling global nuclear capacity, we are going to really need to triple the uranium or the fuel that goes into our reactors. So, answering the question that Tim kind of answered, but maybe in a little bit more detail, will there be enough uranium to power this ambitious growth for nuclear, and what do we need to do to make sure that that happens?
Thank you, Sama. That is an excellent question. Speaking on behalf of Kazatomprom, of course, it would have been easy for me to say, yeah, we're going to support this initiative, we're going to supply enough uranium, given our resource base and the infrastructure and everything we have. But, they say that every frog is proud of its own pond. But in essence, in this industry, perhaps this is the question I should ask Tim. Will we have enough uranium? This is the question I'm going to ask Amir. Will we have enough uranium? Because in essence, tripling this sort of initiative and taking into account all the implications, it is not only an effort that Kazatomprom needs to undertake, it's the entire industry needs to move up forward. And I think and I'm very happy the team was before me saying out loud these things about the nuclear fuel and the importance of it, highlighting how everyone's talking about tripling it, but whether today the Minister of Energy of Sweden talked about base load. We as producers, we carry the base load of the industry in essence, and I think people should give more credit to us. And of course, I'm biased, as I've said, but in essence, perhaps we should see more commitment coming from not only the industry, but the global community itself. And I'm not complaining, I'm just happy with the progress happening so far, and I want the momentum to keep on going. So, as they say, if you want to walk fast, you move fast, you have to go by yourself. But if you want to go further, you have to do it along with someone. And the nuclear industry itself, we view it as a family. Kazakhstan, when I say Kazakhstan, I mean not only Kazatomprom, but all other producers present, Cameco, Arana, and others that are not present here, that we're eager to do everything in our power as well in order to support this initiative and ensure that and the security of energy supply.
Well, I thank you for that, Dastan. And I think that you said something that you will see that this is a trend of what we are going to have in this conversation. And this is the fact that this is a team effort. Okay, so we as an industry need to work together. And again, it is very good that we now have the support of the finance community and others to go forward. So, on that trend, Amir, I was going to go to you. First of all, congratulations. I mean, I heard that you had a major contract signed up with Rio Tinto. So again, clearly uranium is a thing that is happening and we are moving forward. So congratulations. But I was going to maybe ask you, let's talk about policies and how to learn from successful policies and perhaps export them to other countries in the world. So as you know, and we've discussed this today several times, the US has really been a pioneer in translating energy policy into industrial policies. And we have seen, the Inflation Reduction Act, the Advance Act, and several other things that have truly create an environment where investment in nuclear energy, the entire nuclear value chain, is valuable and is seen as important. So perhaps you want to give us a vision of how this partnership between government, industry has worked in the US, but very importantly, how we can export these fruitful ideas elsewhere, how we can make the most of the lessons learned.
Yeah, thank you for the question. And I would say the key takeaway and the differentiator to the policy that we've seen in the US over the last 3 to 4 years is really the bipartisan nature of where the policy is coming from. That makes the world of difference for not only the policymakers themselves to be able to agree on things, but as an industry, we take greater comfort in policy that has bipartisan support, rather than if it's one way and with the potential change in government, it can easily go the other way. And I think this is an important lesson for the rest of the world, where we have seen that pendulum of pro-nuclear, anti-nuclear shift so quickly. And this is a long-dated, long-term industry. We're talking about reactors that operate for decades. We're talking about mines that take 10 to 15 years just to permit, yet alone mine life. And so when we think about a long-dated, long-term, capital-intensive industry, we really need bipartisan support to know that we've got the stability around which we can make long-term investment decisions. I would say that's one of the key takeaways from what we've seen and witnessed in the US. Now, you mentioned the Advanced Act, so that's great for streamlining the regulatory side. We've seen production tax credits that came out of the IRA for levelizing the playing field a bit for nuclear versus renewables. We've seen the Nuclear Fuel Security Act. We've seen the Russian uranium ban. Yes, we're a global industry and we should think very much in a global context. But some of the policy that I think other countries can learn from as well that the US has adopted is also signaling that, hey, local supply chains matter. That as much as it's a global industry, local supply chains matter. And we need to get the regulatory side streamlined. And so it has to be comprehensive, but again, more than anything, it has to be bipartisan. And look, my company at Uranium Energy, we've taken those signals from those policies that I just touched on and those successful legislative efforts that have come about. We've taken that as our signal to do what you alluded to at the beginning, which is to make greater investments in our business. So this morning we announced our 4th acquisition in 3 years. In the last 3 years, we've now done over $1 billion of acquisitions in acquiring Canadian and US-based assets to really move the business forward, to really demonstrate that we can play a significant role in being a supplier of uranium at a time that the industry needs it. And to the earlier question that we were talking about, I think the policies that we just touched on are also creating healthier customers for us uranium guys. Because at the end of the day, I think the question about can we produce more uranium, can we supply the uranium to meet the tripling goal? Look, at the end of the day, as long as our customers, the utilities, are able to do a 20-year power purchase agreement with the Microsoft and an Oracle and an Amazon, if big tech comes in and provides the type of offtake agreements that gives the utilities the financial certainty that they need, then guess what? Then we can look after those customers, because when they have the financial certainty, we have the financial certainty, we can all get there, and it's all built on that rock solid bipartisan policy foundation. And that to me is also built on favorable public opinion forums, which in the US, this is now the 4th year in a row that we're seeing best numbers when it comes to the opinion polls, which is where policy has to come from as well. So I think that's kind of the pyramid, the way I look at it.
Now, so a few points here that I think very important that I would like to highlight. So first of all, the taking politics outside of energy policy, which is what you said. And I think that we have seen that quite a bit in many countries all over the world. So perhaps not every country just yet, but yeah, the fact that nuclear energy is a key component of a forward-looking, carbon-free energy mix is being recognized in many countries regardless of the political situation. So that's very important. And I mean, I think that the other thing that I think you said that is very important is the contrast between global and local. I think that historically the global nuclear industry is a global market, and clearly we want to make sure that all countries in the world are able to make the most of the benefits of this technology. But as you said, obviously every country wants to maximize its local capabilities, its local industry to make the most of it at a local level. So those two things are very important. So, you know, in a little bit of that following up with that, let me get back to you, Hiroyuki-san. So JBIC has a long history of supporting large-scale energy infrastructure projects. And, you know, looking ahead at the strategies that you are implementing and also other financial institutions, there's these strategies that you are using to de-risk these projects and nuclear in particular. So how do you see this? What can we do, or what can you suggest in order to optimize or promote nuclear projects, not only in Japan or countries that already have nuclear, but perhaps newcomer countries that, as we heard earlier, Africa are looking to include nuclear?
All right, thank you. Thank you, Sama-san. Actually, as you mentioned, JBIC has been involved heavily in the infrastructure sector, such as the energy development in the global market. The recent characteristic we face is that the very rapid demand of the electricity coming from the AI and also the data center investment will brought us the more demand for the energy capacity. And in order to achieve or respond to this energy demand and also achieve the 1.5 degrees target, I think we need more, low carbon energy capacity. And I think, the nuclear power is a key sector which will matches the demand as a baseload electricity provider and also the stable energy supplier. We hear from the many Japanese and foreign entities that the new projects are going on, not only in the United States, but also in Europe, and also Asian countries are also considering the new nuclear project, such as the Philippines, India, or South Korea. But we have to think about the risks facing, the nuclear power project, especially from the financing side. The first point is maybe a very big capex and also long time of the construction period. I think the financing plays one of the key important role in order to mitigate the risks. And also today we have the discussion about the SMR. SMR might be a smaller capex and also smaller construction period. That might be one of the solutions of the reduce the risks. But talking about the SMR, it's still the testing stage, not the commercial operation stage. So when it comes to the financial stage, we have to be carefully review the risk of the SMR for the financing. So when we look at the technical aspect of the nuclear power plant, it's a big plant and also the SMR as well. The nuclear needs a very high technology, advanced technology, and also the experience for the construction. From the financier's viewpoint, there is a cost overrun risk and also the completion delay risks. We have to be mitigated. In order to mitigate both risks, I think the high technology companies and also the experienced companies is required, including the Japanese company also have such kinds of techniques. Also, I think I want to point out not only the techniques which belongs to the US or Japan or the France companies, but also the local companies' techniques which will support the nuclear power plant is also very important in order to support and also reduce the risks of make the new plant, the nuclear power plant.
Very, very many important points here. So I heard that we need to continue to educate the finance community, make sure that the different aspects of an investment in nuclear, in the entire nuclear value chain, as you mentioned, we need to make sure that we make clear the different risk profiles, risk appetites, the different timelines, the different size of the investment. So I think that this is something that has been said several times today, and I think that we take that on board as something that we really want to make sure that the finance community has full and clear information. And then obviously the second part that you said, which I think is very important, is what is associated to the project risk. In other words, the credibility of the nuclear industry to actually deliver those projects on time and on budget. So we are really, I'm making a long list of homework, of things that we all need to do here. So thank you so much, Hiroyuki. So Rafal, let's go to you as an off-taker, as somebody that is looking to use abundant carbon-free 24/7 nuclear energy. So OSGE, as you know, for those of you that don't know, this is a joint venture between Orlen SA and also Sintos Green Energy. So we have a private-public team to actually bring carbon-free energy to lots of industries. So this is a journey that you started a few years ago, and you have a very clear plan on how to use small modular reactors to achieve that. So tell us a little bit more, what is next steps, what's happening, and how we are going to get there.
Thank you, Soma. I'm the last person, the last panel before the dinner, so I will try to make it very short. Yes, we start our project 2018 as private industrial group, largest private industrial group in Poland. After 6 years, we have JV with largest utility in Poland, Orlen, so it's Orlen Sintos Green Energy. We employ over 200 people right now with 96 additional engineers hired only this year. So projects is going very fast, also costs are going very fast. And we finance our project from the equity, from our shareholders right now. Our next step is preliminary safety analysis report and submission to the Polish regulator license to construct at 2026. I believe before 2026 we'll be able to get a notification from the contract for differences for European Union for the fleet of SMRs in Poland. So at 2026, 2027, we'll be able to have FID for our project. That's our next step. And I believe that with this deployment schedule, 2028, it's still feasible to have first nuclear concrete in Poland.
So lots of work in front of you, but it looks like you have a very clear action plan. So let me go back to you, Amir, because we are talking about many hard to abate industries in Poland, and we've talked throughout the day about the servers, and the data centers in the US. So obviously we have the big announcement on Friday, Constellation, Microsoft for 3 Mile Island. So let's talk a little bit. Those are very good projects, but to me, what we are hearing is there is a new mindset that is needed, right? So we probably are going to need to take a step back and reassess. Are there additional new business models? Are there different contractual arrangements? Do we need to take a look back at how the markets are structured to actually make the most of these energy off-takers that are keen to support the growth of nuclear and other carbon-free energies, but perhaps they don't have an easy mechanism to do that. So what are you seeing in that area?
I'm seeing basically a paradigm shift in demand. What we're witnessing is something that maybe even 9 months ago wasn't, 6 months ago, wasn't really fathomable. And now if you're the CEO of a data center developer, you're just as much thinking about nuclear energy as you would if you're in building reactors or building infrastructure, or mining uranium. You're in the same exact mindset. But the issue that I see with it, if I could be candid, is I think we've seen the low-hanging fruits that were out there. How many other 3 Mile Island Unit 2 or Unit 1 is available? How many other deals like what Amazon did in March with Talon Energy? Those are limited. And there's much more in demand for those types of units being available for a power purchase agreement or offtake. And that ultimately, I think, points to perhaps what Oracle is talking about, right? Larry Ellison just recently talked about how they're going to look to permit a data center with 3 SMR units to go in at the same time. So you can see that I think the first wave is the wave where the low-hanging fruit gets picked up. Beyond that, this demand from data centers is real. The Electric Power Research Institute puts it at 9% of total US electricity by 2030 is going to be consumed by data centers. This is as much we can call it exponential growth, right? So it's all going to hinge on power and energy and availability of energy. And I sure as hell hope that our industry can really be the solution here, beyond the reactor restarts, beyond the TMI-1, beyond Susquehanna. There has to be some element of new construction that we can benefit from, I think, as an industry on the back of the big, deep funding that big tech is bringing. And that's something we've never seen before as an industry. So it's certainly a paradigm shift. I think it's going to have an Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. So it's almost like a multi-episode sort of show that we're going to have to watch. But hopefully we're going to be the main characters in it.
So, I think that is something very interesting because today we've talked many times about the cost of new nuclear, the cost of financing nuclear, and so we do tend to focus quite very much on that side of the equation. But when you talk to the energy off-takers, OSGE or Microsoft or Google or Nucor this morning, I think they know they are looking at something a little bit different, which is how much does it cost not to have abundant, affordable, 24/7 carbon-free energy. And that equation, as you said, this is a paradigm shift, and I don't know that we know exactly how we are going to equate those two sides, but I think that's very important. And then I will say that there is one more dimension, and I was going to go back to Dastan, because while it's obviously very important to make sure that these big tech and others, organizations, companies have energy, let's go back to the fact that there are right now 800 million people around the world with zero access to any energy, clean, dirty, or anything in between. So I think that we cannot forget that as we are looking towards decarbonizing and energizing, so everybody everywhere has access to the same quality of life. So I was going to go to Dastan to talk about newcomer countries. So as we know, Kazakhstan is one of the countries that, even though rich in all kinds of natural resources, is also already looking at whether nuclear is potentially an option for the future of Kazakhstan. So there will be a national referendum in October, I forgot, 3rd of October, or very early in October. So Dastan, tell us a little bit, how do you see the potential of nuclear energy in Kazakhstan and perhaps other countries in Central Asia or elsewhere in the world, from your vantage point?
Yes, thank you for your question as well. Well, there are two views on this issue, and on behalf of Kazatomprom, given the ethical and legal reasons, I'm saying that we rely on the will of the nation once it's expressed, and it's going to be October 6th, if I'm correct. That is when the referendum is going to happen, and should the nation actually approve the construction of the first nuclear power plant, of course, we as Kazatomprom are ready to supply, because it's going to be less than 1% of our production should the actual reactor to be built. But me personally, I'm really excited, because the construction of such a facility, that will bring a lot of sophistication and higher-end technologies to the nation, and in essence, more than half of our energy is currently supplied by coal, which is really cheap in terms of it's abundantly available. And it's very important right now as well for us to align with the overall approach towards green energy and the initiatives that are being implemented across the world. So this is I'd say this is a turning point perhaps, and the longest journey begins with a single step, and we're really looking forward to that.
So no, I think that, we are going to, all of us, I think we are going to watch closely to what happens in Kazakhstan after your referendum. Also, there will be a referendum in Slovenia also later this year. So clearly, several countries are looking very seriously at decarbonizing their economies, looking at nuclear. Poland being one of them. So let me go back to you, Rafal, because obviously OSGE has a very specific project for your particular needs. But I think that this is intimately intertwined with the national strategy in Poland to actually move forward decarbonizing the entire economy. So tell us a little bit how you are synergizing your efforts with the efforts that are taking place in Poland overall.
So Poland is industrial hub in Europe. We produce things, we consume a lot of energy, and we expect that energy grow from current 700 terawatt hour. We grow in the end of this decade to 220, 250 terawatt hours in the middle of 2030. And at the same time, we're going to decommission almost 200 coal-fired boilers in size of 300 megawatts. So we're going to increase energy consumption and decrease energy production. So it's going to make a gap in energy generation in the middle of 30s, around 20 gigawatts. We're talking about baseload only. So as you understand, our project in such situation cannot be dedicated only to the decarbonization of the largest private industrial group or the largest state-owned group. It's not only about the refineries in Poland or chemical business in Poland. It's also about producing baseload energy for Polish energy system, for the Polish grid. And with the fleet of SMRs, we can avoid a lot of investment in grid. So we believe that with current sites we already working on, we get decision in principle from Polish government. We can avoid very costly and very slow investment in the grid using existing connection. So with 6 sites we develop and together 26 SMRs we get approval from Polish government. And the full success of our project, we still will produce only 8% of energy required for the base load in Poland. So you see how big the market is. And the challenge, of course.
Exactly, exactly. No, I mean, and this is something you brought a very good point that I say very many times to all our members and the overall global nuclear industry. I try to shake them all up a little bit, what you just said. The size and the urgency of the challenge that we have in front of us is enormous, which is a challenge, of course, but a huge opportunity, which I think that many of us would really, really want to make the most of. So on that note, going back to you, Hiroyuki-san. So JBIC is obviously a policy-based financial institution, and you conduct lending, investment, and warranty operation. And also you complement the private sector financial institutions. So what do you see your role of JBIC as a thought leader, if you wish, with private financial institutions to open their mind, if you wish, to the opportunities that exist to finance perhaps nuclear projects?
Yes, thank you. Well, I am from Japan, and Japan was kind of the humble position after Fukushima. So in 2011, and 13 years has passed. As you might know, the Japanese Prime Minister Kishida is going to step down at the end of this month, and now the Prime Minister's election is going on. I think at the end of this week, new Prime Minister will be elected. Now the 9 candidates are standing for the Prime Minister in Japan, and I heard all the discussions, and I found that all the 9 candidates are now supporting the nuclear. It's, I think, a big change in the past several years. And yes, the JBIC is, as a government financial institution, we support, we are in line with the Japanese government policy. The Japanese government is very happy to support this net zero nuclear initiative to triple the nuclear capacity. But I want to highlight some of the actions which need to be taken. One of the actions which need to be taken by, for example, first one is host country. Host country is quite important. Maybe proactive action is necessary, such as the introduction of the regulation or legislation for the safety and also the compensation liability for the project developers. And also, there is some supporting for the project developers, such as the incentive for the investment or the approval process is also very important. And also, some financial support for the project, such as the contract for difference or the guarantee for the offtake of the power is also critically important. And also sometimes, lender requests the guarantee for the debt by the government is also plays a critical role for the smooth financing formulation. So in addition to this support by the host country's government, I think more variety of the discussion will be necessary in order to promote the nuclear power plant. So it's a discussion such as how we can invite or mobilize the private money to this field, and also what kind of the lending scheme is the best appropriate to this nuclear, or how we can secure the supply chain of the nuclear power plant, and also what kind of risks can financial institutions can take. I hope this kind of discussion will be continued or held in the COP29 or the COP30 or onward. Yeah.
Very good, very, very good points. And I will also highlight something that has been said several times, you just highlighted, which is the change in public perception. So Amir mentioned it, Hiroyuki-san just mentioned it, and frankly, where we look at many countries over in Europe and in other continents, the overall public opinion is really shifting. And I think that this is because for the first time in quite a long time, people are able to put together their electricity bill together with where their energy is coming from. So that connection is starting to appear in many people's minds, and they are definitely seeing that nuclear could be a very good point of view. So let me go to our final round. So, let's be super ambitious here, right? So COP29 is literally around the corner, so there's a few things that we can do, but perhaps limited time. So I want you guys to look a little bit further ahead to COP30. So, given this fabulous momentum that we have for nuclear energy, I would like for you to tell me, what could be some realistic yet ambitious specific achievements that you would like to see when we get together a few weeks before COP30 in 2025. So maybe let's start with Rafal. What do you think? What would you like to see? And then this is a little bit our homework. So Rafal is going to give us the first exercise for this homework.
All my life, I try to be optimistic. So first, don't give up any targets. We have to keep these targets very high level, and we can deliver. I think the most important thing is to have leaders. And they used to say it's not possible to deliver large nuclear projects on time and on budget, not in 21st century. We heard this for last 20, 30 years. Then we have a great leader, Mohammed Hamadi, who was somewhere here, who just delivered. He made it for nuclear reactors, 12 years. Wow. So it's possible. We need such leaders in uranium. We need such leaders in financing and supply chain. And I tell you, I just visited Japan, and I visited factories, Hitachi factories, and I can tell you it's amazing what they achieved there. They keep existing supply chain, they keep producing nuclear islands, important parts, long lead items, which we're going to order next year. And if we don't give up, if we continue this optimistic thinking and great leadership, I think in next COP, COP 35. Okay, 35. So we will be ready to deliver what we promise. First SMR on the market and stable foundation for the fleet of SMRs in Central Europe, which we need to repower coal-fired plants.
We are taking notes, no? This is action number 1. That's done. What is what would you wish to see?
Well, first of all, we would like for everyone present in this room, everyone involved, to remain as ambitious, as committed, as focused on doing the things that are being done right now. All these goals, they all need to come into life, and we should see the end results. We, on behalf of Kazatomprom, we're ready and we're committed to ensure the security of supply, as already stated, and we've been around for 27 years and never had we failed to deliver on any of our obligations or commitments. So I think these things, they speak for themselves as well. We've done business with most of the industry participants, and one of the important things I'd like to highlight is that this industry itself, when we talk about our peers, a lot of people refer to them as competitors, but this is a mixed relationship, whereas we refer to them peers and partners. And it's very important for us to sustain this level of relationship within the industry to progress forward. And I think there's just enough room for everyone, and everybody should get the piece of the action, what's happening right now. So I'd like to thank everyone for being here as well, and I'd like to thank you, Sama, for giving me this opportunity. One of the things I also would like to highlight that overall the perception of Kazatomprom sometimes, and I know that there are no people in this room who perhaps do these things, but recently our CEO, he gave an interview to one of the media enterprises here, and his words were taken out of the context when he talked about the diversification of supply and how we as Kazatomprom are willing to do business, and we are doing business with everyone involved, but his words were paraphrased in the sense that we're more committed to Eastern supply than the Western supply, and that's not the case. He was just clearly sending a message to local utilities, basically saying like, I mean, it's time for you to get more active on the market and these things. And to conclude, I'd say that given the ambitions set within the industry, we've announced and launched a huge exploration program for uranium in Kazakhstan that we're going to do, and we view this as a measure to support the industry needs going on forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Dastan. Amir.
Industry goal, and then maybe kind of company or UEC specific goal, what I'd like to see by next year. I think on the industry side, it would be interesting to connect two dots that we talked about today. One is this pledge from financial institutions. We had 14 or 15, 14 today. And I would love to see an enlargement of that ecosystem. I would love to see, as a Canadian, to see Canadian banks and financial institutions be part of that pledge. And I would love to see some traction for us with the World Development Bank and IFC. So to see an enlargement of this historical pledge that was made today, push that towards COP30 next year. But I would like to see the evolution of what the deep pockets of big tech can do for our industry beyond being an off-taker of the power that some of the reactors that can generate. It would be interesting to see if the financial muscle of the tech industry, combined with this financial alliance that was created, can start to become the necessary capital for accelerating the development of new reactors. And I know we had some of our friends from the hyperscalers at WNA symposium in London who initially want to resist that because that's not the business they want to be in. But me and Dastan and Tim can pledge that we also sometimes don't want to own some of the ancillary equipment and things that comes with mining. We'd love to outsource as much as possible. But sometimes you have to roll up your sleeves and you have to really invest in those critical components of where you think your future is. So I think the story around the involvement of hyperscalers with our industry has just begun. It'd be interesting to see how it evolves by COP30. And let's see if the dots can connect between them and the financial pledge that was made today. With UEC, Uranium Energy Corp, look, we're a US company. And as I mentioned, we have done numerous acquisitions over the last few years to really build a Western supply solution to develop more sufficient answers that are in the backyard of the utilities here. And so today, after today's acquisition that we did with Rio Tinto, we now have 3 production centers in the United States, 2 in Wyoming, 1 in Texas. And so my goal for our company and my team and everyone involved with UEC by COP is to really arrive at COP and be able to say that we currently have 1 of those 3 production centers online. We started production last month. By the time we go to Brazil, we really want to be in a position where we can go, all 3 production centers are producing. So to be producing uranium from 3 different areas within the US, and to really be able to add to the very necessary supplier base that is needed out there. There is no doubt, let there be no mistake, Kazakhstan has single-handedly bailed out this industry for the last 20 years. If it wasn't for the production growth that came out of Kazakhstan, we'd be in deep trouble. I think something like 90% of production growth has come out of Kazakhstan since over 20 years ago. So incredible gratitude to what Kazatomprom has done, but they can't carry all this requirement on their own. More companies have to step up to carry this to really carry what is needed. And that's what's going to really make this industry fun, robust, interesting, and rewarding for all of our stakeholders, that we can have multiple players addressing multiple needs, because there's far more demand for uranium today than all of us collectively can produce. So we need to all do more. You guys have done enough, and thank you very much for that.
Very good.
And thank you
Very
for
good.
having me.
Yes, very good. So, Hiroyuki-san, you get to have the last desire. What would you wish to see by COP30?
Thank you. Well, all of us in this room maybe can agree that let's triple the nuclear power plant capacity. That's agreeable. But how we can, make it from the financing side. I mean, who will take the risk of the big financing? We have still issues. We have to keep discussion. So my interpretation of the triple the nuclear capacity is how we can proceed from the politically correct to a commercially correct or the financially correct. So we need to have the more things to discuss or keep discussion. And what is JBIC is doing? So JBIC as we are kind of the ECA or kind of the DFI. We have been discussing with our collaboration with the US partners such as the US DFC, Exim Bank, and also MDBs we have been discussing. But also we have been discussing with the Japanese partners and also the foreign partners such as the EDF or the Polish friends or other players or globally. So I think these kinds of discussion will be key, and also inviting the private sector's players, such as the private nuclear developers and also private financial institutions, including in this discussion is critically important. That's the point I want to say. Today's last session.
Very good, Hiroyuki-san. So I think that we have here very exciting, insightful achievements that I think we've been challenged to deliver by COP30, no pressure or anything. Thank you very much for very, very thoughtful comments. I would like to ask all of you to please help me thank our fabulous panel. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amir.